Never heard story about Bobby Mackey's Musicworld, presented by Absolutely Haunted. Do you ever think about the places you make your second home? The bars, the clubs, the spots where you spend your nights laughing, drinking, dancing. Do you ever wonder who else lingers there when the lights go down? What if those places were haunted? Would you still go? Would the thrill be worth the risk of meeting something unnatural? Would you return after an encounter that left you shaken to your core? Back in 1980, those thoughts never crossed my mind. The whole world was in a honky-tonk fever thanks to Urban Cowboy. And here in Kentucky, Bobby Mackey's Musicworld was the place to be. Once my husband Jess and I stepped through those doors for the first time, we were hooked. The neon lights, the thumping country music, the sawdust-covered floors. It felt like home. Sure, there were signs warning about ghosts, but we laughed them off. Ghosts were nothing more than stories, right? But one night I learned the hard way that some stories are real. The night started like any other. Jess and I in his Ford pickup, the windows down, country music blasting. The stress of the week melted away as we pulled into the parking lot. We waved at familiar faces before stepping inside, the music vibrating through the walls, calling us to the dance floor. Hours passed in a haze of spinning, laughing, and a few too many drinks. Eventually, I excused myself to the restroom, still feeling the rhythm of the music in my veins. Normally, the place was so packed you couldn't be alone even if you wanted to be. But that night, when I entered, only 2 other women stood at the mirror, gossiping as they fixed their hair. I smiled politely and slipped into a stall. By the time I emerged, the restroom was silent. I turned on the faucet, splashing cool water on my flushed face. That's when I felt it, a sudden drop in temperature. The air turned icy, prickling against my overheated skin. My breath hitched. Maybe the air conditioning kicked on. Maybe. But why did I feel watched? A tap on my shoulder. I jumped, whipping around to find a woman standing unnervingly close. I hadn't heard the door open. I hadn't seen her in the mirror, and yet she was there. She was. She didn't belong. Her dress, her hair, her entire aura screamed of another time. A deep blue dress clung to her slender frame, cinched at the waist in perfect 1940s fashion. Dark waves of hair framed a face so striking it was almost unnatural. Flawless porcelain skin, piercing eyes shadowed by something sad. "You should leave," she whispered, her voice urgent yet hauntingly melodic. A chill slithered down my spine. I forced a laugh, trying to shake off the unease. "Excuse me?" She reached out, her fingers wrapping around my arm with a grip that was too cold. "You don't understand," she said, eyes darting toward the door as if something lurked beyond it. "He's noticed you, and he will come for you." A sickening weight settled in my stomach. My instinct screamed at me to listen, but pride and liquid courage made me shake off her grip. "Look, I don't know what your deal is, but I'm not leaving." I pushed past her, eager to return to the comfort of the dance floor. I barely made it a few steps before I felt it. The hallway beyond the restroom was wrong. The air was heavier, suffocating, and thick with something unseen but present. The music from the dance floor was still playing, but it sounded distant, like it was coming from the other side of a vast, empty canyon. Then I saw it. A shadow. Not cast from light, but something alive, shifting, writhing. A towering figure, a void darker than the blackest night, blocking my path. It pulsed, almost breathing, and then it moved. Before I could scream, it lunged. A force like freezing iron clamped around my throat, lifting me off the ground. My boots dangled, scraping uselessly at the air. I tried to claw at the thing's grip, but my fingers grasped nothing. My lungs burned. The world blurred. The music, the laughter, everything was slipping away. This was how I was going to die. Then, a flash of movement behind the thing. A woman's voice, irate and unyielding. "I won't allow this!" Through the haze, I saw her, the woman from the restroom. Her face was furious. From down the hall, she came charging at the shadow, her hands glowing with an eerie light. She shoved it, forcing it back, her voice ringing out like a battle cry. The grip vanished. I collapsed to the floor, gasping, my vision swimming. The thing recoiled, twisting, writhing, before she sent it hurtling down the stairs at the end of the hall. And then, nothing. I came to outside. I must have passed out because I have no idea how I got out here. I was sitting on the edge of the road, the club looming behind me. My entire body ached, and when I reached for my throat, my fingers met the undeniable pain of where the elusive, smoky hands of the shadow thing had been choking me. I suddenly became aware of the pretty, dark-haired woman from the bathroom. She was standing a few feet away from me. The woman stood in the club's parking lot, watching me with solemn eyes. "Don't ever come back," she warned. "I may not be able to save you again. Once he decides what he wants, it is impossible to sway him usually." I struggled to my feet, my legs unsteady. Who was that? What was that?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned toward the club. "I'll get your husband." She swiftly walked away. "Wait," I called after her. "What's your name?" She paused briefly at the door, but then continued inside without answering my question. And with that, she vanished into the club. The door burst open a moment later, and Jess came sprinting toward me, eyes wild with panic. When he saw my neck, his face turned ghost white. "What the hell happened?" he demanded. "Some lady came up to me and said you'd been attacked." "Who did this to you?" I swallowed hard, wincing at the pain. "Jess, we need to go. Now." He looked around, his protective instincts kicking in, but I grabbed his arm, holding him still. "I can't explain this to the cops, or the doctors. You won't believe me, but..." Jess cupped my face, his fingers trembling. "Try me." So I did. I told him everything. The woman, the shadow, the attack. By the time I finished, he was shaking his head in disbelief. But I could see it in his eyes. He believed me. "So you're telling me a shadow man tried to kill you, and some ghost of a nightclub singer from the 1940s saved you?" His voice was quiet, almost numb. "Yes," I whispered. He exhaled slowly, rubbing his face. "And this woman, she didn't tell you her name?" I nodded. "Well, she told me something. She said you asked her a question. She said to tell you they call her Johanna." I froze. Because everyone who knows the stories of Bobby Mackey's knows that name.